one thing to note about this SOP is it's not about getting it done. That's not the goal. It's about using it the way that matters to you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the HighLevel Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, we are joined by one of our frequent guests, Mr. Alex Schlinsky. Welcome back to the show. Alex is here to talk to us today about planning. It's January. It's a new year. Alex, you've got a pretty nice framework put together to make sure that we are set up for success in 2021, yes?
Amen to that. Yes, sir. First off, Chase, thanks so much for having me. Thanks to the entire JHL team, as always, for letting me come on here and share some knowledge where I can. I love doing this, super passionate about it. So yeah, I will actually provide this framework, this SOP for everyone. Like you said, it is January. Even if you end up watching this in February or March, don't get too stressed out about the idea of like missing the mark. I think a lot of people get worried about like, oh my gosh, it's February 16th and I didn't plan anything. Like, it's a social construct, years, like the way we set it up, like do it however you need and whenever you need. And transparently, 100% frankly, this SOP was actually initially the quarterly planning SOP because we would do this 4 times a year. And then we thought, well, it'd probably be valuable to just change some of the words on here from quarterly to annual. And then suddenly it's a brand new SOP. Now it's an annual SOP. So you can use this SOP in both ways. It's exactly the same. If you really want, you can do it monthly. I'd probably think that's a little overkill, I would say, but it's really, really valuable. I think entrepreneurs, Chase, and I know that you fall in this line in terms of seeing this pretty commonly in the high level groups. Entrepreneurs are so much more prepared to plan forward than to look at anything backwards. And if you don't look at anything backwards, you can't plan forward efficiently. So when you go through this SOP, it's really, really important that you're also considering the audits of what's happened prior. A lot of people like end a year and they're dissatisfied with their growth, not because of a certain KPI or metric wasn't hit, but because they have no idea how it was hit. And then you're trying to plan again for the next year, but you're still not taking any time to consider what worked. So I want to preface before we dive into this SOP that when you're going through it, also take the time to consider, why am I planning this ahead with understanding what I had from the past? Use your experience as an advantage. Too many people throw their experience to the wayside and just look to the future only. And I wanted to make sure I didn't continue that trend by just showing you an annual planning SOP without at least considering the auditing as well, which I think is key.
Makes sense. It's always tough to look back, but it's important.
Never easy. I mean, it's never easy. Most people, especially entrepreneurs, are not content enough. I think they're always like hunting for the next thing. Nothing's ever good enough. I used to use this line a lot, Chase, about like one of my things that I hated most about MMA. I'm a big MMA fan. After some guy fights in a 5-round, like essentially death match, right? The first question after the person wins the title is, who do you want to fight next? It's like, bro, I literally was just in a 25-minute war to the death. And you're asking me who I want to fight next while I'm bleeding and my face is puffed up. It's like, can we have just
I don't want to fight anyone ever again.
Yeah, it's like, can I have 10 seconds to just like enjoy this? So again, like looking backwards, making sure that you're also satisfied and happy and allowing yourself to be happy is really key. Part of the planning SOP, and you'll see this in just a second when we start going into it, is really 3 things I want everyone to consider is what specific things will make you happy this year, what specific things will make you fulfilled, and then what specific things will make you dissatisfied. I think a lot of people will say overarching, I want to be successful, I want to be happy, I want to be fulfilled, and I want to have a smallest amount possible of dissatisfaction. And yet, if you were to do a real audit of how they feel, majority of people are like dissatisfied, lacking fulfillment, fleeting happiness, and they don't even know what success is defined as. So if you take the time to really define it clearly laid out, rather than I just want to hit 50K because, it's going to make you a lot more efficient in your business, especially in a community. I love the high level community. It's incredible, but like, it's also in so many ways, people are trying to compete with each other, either consciously or subconsciously, where it's like, well, that guy did this thing and sold that amount and I'm not doing it. And it's like, who cares what they're doing? Focus on you, focus on what's good with you and what you're dealing with and how it's working out. So yeah, if you want to ask me anything, Chase, before we dive into the SOP, we can. If not, we can dive right in.
I got a fire engine going by. I don't know if you can hear that. So let's dive right in. I'm going to go on mute when I'm not talking.
All right. Let's talk about the annual planning SOP. So first off, again, just in order to ensure your success for the coming year, you have to have first goals and milestones set. You cannot win a race when you do not know the finish line. So you want to go into this annual planning SOP at the start of the new year with a positive mindset, looking forward to an incredible year. And again, you can change this language to say the quarter as well. Okay. So here's the first step. There's 5 elements. I'm going to break down the 5 first, and then we'll go through each one step by step. The first is just generic goal setting. And when I say generic, that doesn't mean to diminish the value of it. It's just pretty standard goal setting, right? You have standard goal setting. Then you have specifically your roadmap for client acquisition and planning, your business facilitation goals, and your personal goals. This is absolutely key. This is, in my opinion, the most important, like we were talking about here just a minute ago. We'll come back to it. Your team member review to ensure that these people can help you achieve your goals that you have. And then finally, what we call specifically is our ISA map. It's an infinitely scalable map. Essentially what it looks like is just a wireframe of all your important SOPs for prospecting, qualification, sales, offers, retention, upsells, etc. Like one spot, all your SOPs, one business model. So you can think of it more so as like, what big elements of my company am I missing when you look at the ISA map model? Okay. So we'll go through each of these. And at any point, Chase, if you have any questions, let me know. And again, anyone that's watching this on replay, you can grab this SOP. We'll drop the link for you so you can work on it with your team. Strongly recommend doing it. It's a really valuable exercise. One thing to note about this SOP is it's not about getting it done. That's not the goal. It's about using it the way that matters to you. Some people want to just like check it off. Like, I did the annual planning, but like if it doesn't mean anything, if you didn't get the value from it, if you didn't really implement it, there's no purpose to it. It's not like I need to do all 5 in one sitting. Do it with purpose and then continue through it when you can. Normally, I would say if you're going to go through this whole thing, it's going to take you 2 hours. If you try to do 1 to 3 of them at a time, it will probably take you 30 to 60 minutes or so to do it. But it's not about finishing it. It's about doing it with quality and with purpose. And I think that's key. So we'll start off here. We'll just break these down and I'll give some extra insight as we go through. What's the annual revenue goal? This is just, again, the high level goal of the company for the year, or again, quarter. How is it broken down into the 4 quarters? So you have milestones to hit, right? Like if you're going from LA to New York, you have to have milestones of where you're going in that drive. It's not just LA to New York, right? Because if you put down a revenue goal without breaking it down, here's what's going to happen. Every single day, you're going to be stressed out that you're not at your 12-month goal because you're only 45 days into the year. So have milestones. It's really important. Otherwise, you'll be stressed out about it. A couple of people I work with put this into monthly version. Totally fine. This is not black and white. This is just a prompt to help you build out your own goal setting. What do you believe are the biggest factors to hitting your goal? I would recommend you try to limit this to 3 things. Otherwise, you might put 400 things. I like to use this for prioritization. I think, Chase, you'd probably agree with me here. Entrepreneurs are really, really bad with prioritization. We have a really hard time prioritizing our time and our tasks and our things, and we just do stuff. Right? That's kind of like the model for most entrepreneurs, definitely people in the agency space for sure. What I try to advise is if everything is urgent, nothing is urgent. If everything is priority, nothing is priority. So we really want to identify what would be the priorities. What are the things that will really ensure you hit your goal? So for some people it would be client retention for 6 months, ensuring we get 4 new clients a month, ensuring XYZ. These are like really important high-level tactics that you want to consider. Then why did you choose the goal? If you don't have a why, your goal is never purposeful. It doesn't have any drive. It's never going to be good enough because you're going to hit the goal or you won't hit the goal. Ideally, if you do hit the goal, you're going to be like, okay, next. Like I just said, same idea. You're bloody and beaten from the 12 months of working your ass off and you're just like, next. It didn't mean anything to you in the first place. Put a why, even if it's materialistic, it doesn't matter. Because you want to buy a Ferrari, good for you. It's all good. As long as you're not taking food out of the mouth of someone else and you're helping people, do whatever the hell you want. It's all good. You don't have to worry about stigma of like, oh yeah, I don't know if I should get it harder. It's your life. It's all good. It's not a problem, right? It's not a problem.
Let me take a second to put in a plug right here.
Please.
If for that second point, what do you believe is your biggest factors to hitting your goal? And then so if one of them is reduce churn, pay attention to what we are doing with SaaS mode. SaaS mode will help you combat churn better than anything possible. It'll be the biggest thing that we do this year. So It's right around the corner. Just a quick plug. If you're having problems with churn, start thinking about SaaS.
I love that. And I strongly want to just like touch on that for a second. Part of the offers that we advise everyone we work with, Chase, to implement are 3 things specifically: revenue generation, making the client more money; saving them time. I'm talking specifically time saving, not GHL yet. And then third, GHL, operational efficiency, organizational efficiency. If you can not only provide lead generation and time saving solutions, but you can actually help them be better with their actual operations using HighLevel as a SaaS, it's immensely powerful. And a lot of people do this already, but if you're watching this video and don't, what the are you doing? Do it. Oh my Lord. Okay. It's very important and it's really valuable to ensuring that you hit your goals. Profit wise is essentially like the most important thing to me on this whole thing. Everyone I think gets distracted by what the revenue goals. It's like, oh my God, I made $1 million this year, but really you made 50 grand because your profit is garbage, right? Really, you should be focusing on the profit goal. Revenues and high revenues are good so you can make investments into the team and build out your products and make investments in coaching and all that jazz, right? But like at the end of the day, what you're taking home and what the company is actually profiting is absolutely critical. And you should have clarity on this. My recommendation probably is 45% for any done for you agency. That's usually what we see if you're really not working in the business. If you're spending a lot of time in the business, probably 10% more. So like 55%. It's definitely not black or white. I'm definitely not an expert in that. So I don't want to pretend that I am, but I think that's probably what you should be hunting for.
Can I ask you a question about revenue?
Yeah.
If I'm a newer agency, right? I'm just getting started. Let's say I'm off and I'm doing 5,000 a month and I'm super excited. I'm like, man, I can see I'm going to be able to quit my job soon. What are realistic growth goals when it comes to revenue? Like from quarter to quarter, can I expect to grow 100%, 200? Like, I feel like you don't want to shoot unrealistically because you're setting yourself up for a disappointment.
So I think Chase, my mindset around goals is different than a lot of other people. Like some people will be like, okay, this is the standard trajectory. This is the trail that's already been blazed. This is the one you should follow, etc. These are SMART goals. I'm sure all of you have heard of that element. For me, like I used to tell people like, you want to get to 10, then you want to get to 25, then you want to get to 50. And then I realized that what I'm saying is just a trope. It's just a social construct based on what other coaches are saying or what I did or whatever. It doesn't even matter. What matters is every single person is very unique. And really what I'm trying to hunt for in goal setting is really frankly just these things. What are going to make you happy? What's going to make you fulfilled? What's going to make you dissatisfied? Because if you're going to be dissatisfied hunting to get to 25K, even though you never had a why for it in the first place, what the is the point of that? There's no point, right? So like, I'm not big on the individual tropes of like, this is the plan in general. This is what you should do. Now, to go with the conventional method, just to answer that question directly, this is usually what I see. Most people in the agency space want to hit 10K recurring. There's no actual reason behind it. I think most people think it's because that hits 6 figures. Just for math's sake, that's about like 8,500 a month. If you times that by 12, it's a little bit, it's like 99 to 100,000. I'm not great at math, but you get the idea. It's a weird like variable number that I think has just become like really omnipresent in the space since it started with like Sam Ovens and Ty Lopez all expressing we can make you 10K a month. The zero in psychology is like a big thing. So that's why people do that. But I think that's probably where most people are trying to get. In my opinion, I think percentage model is a lot stronger, like you're saying. I would try to be growing anywhere from 15 to 35% quarter over quarter, depending on whether or not you actually want that. It's so dependent though on the want and desire rather than like just because. Lastly, also on this idea you said, Chase, of like, you don't want to hit goals too high. I think I might have a little bit of a different mindset on goal setting. Some of my goal setting ideas are more so set where I want to shoot for the stars and the moon. And if I don't hit it, I'll learn how to hit it next time. That's my preferred method of goal setting. Some people don't like that methodology because they get stressed out that they're not hitting their goals. For me, this is weird. I don't think it's a appropriate psychology, but it's just a transparent psychology. I'd love to know, Chase, if you're in this as well. If I smash a goal or even hit a goal, I actually very rarely feel good about it. I always feel like, why did I sell myself short? And it's not a good mindset. It's an inappropriate mindset. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's who I am. That's how I am.
Yeah,
So when I
you're
set
messed up because I get really excited when I hit my goals.
That's good, right? That's good. Weird. I don't know why that happens, but it's like I sold myself short. That's how I think. So when I'm not hitting a goal, I'm actually more excited. I'm like, okay, I didn't hit this. Here's the reasons why I didn't hit this. This is what I need to do to hit it. Let's build that plan. For me, that's my kind of framework. Like I feel failure, that's not the appropriate term, but like not hitting a goal in this safe sense, we use the word failure. Failure is a prerequisite to any achievement whatsoever. If you're constantly hitting the goals, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. I found myself that when I reach outside into my uncomfort, into the uncomfortability zone, right? That's where life's greatest treasures constantly happen, life's greatest lessons. So if I'm going to say I want to make 1.5 million this year, but I only hit 1 million, it's going to be, why did I not get the extra 500K? Here's the things I need to do. Here's how I can do it. That's kind of my model. I hope that gives clarity.
Sure, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, profit goals, you can see them here. Again, really important just for clarity purposes. This is an absolutely necessary question. Not enough people think about it. Everyone's so focused on the amount of money you make, profit or revenue wise, and not about how much time you're actually spending in your business. So many people, Chase, and I'm sure you've been here before as well, bitch and complain about the things they have to do in their business as if it's a job, as if some person is their overlord, right? Like their clients are their overlord, or their parents, or their bills. It's like, this is your entrepreneurship. This is your business, right? Why are you bitching about something that you have control over? What do you want to spend your time on, and focus on those things and build the business around that? So I love doing this as a brain dump without any biases. What is the task or role you want to spend the most amount of time on? If it's nothing and you want to hand it off completely or sell the agency, that's completely fine. You can write that. Without any biases, what's the thing you want to spend the least amount of time on? Most people probably would put in like prospecting, I would think. It's pretty much the most common thing. Some people put in like project management because they can't stand to talk to clients. They want to like gouge their eyes out and not deal with that. So whatever it is for you, put it in there. And then you want to give yourself a rough estimate of your time every day. Now, the funniest thing is when we did this, Chase, with all of our clients, you'd have people putting in like 13-hour days. I'm like, you want to work 13 hours? What are you doing? Like, this is simple math. They're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, I know, that's why we did this SOP. That's why it's so important. Really consider what you want to spend your time on. And if I missed anything else here, which I feel like I pretty much covered all the elements, just add it if there's something else here that I didn't add. One thing I didn't add was like personal stuff, because we were just keeping it business. The idea was that anything that was extra time would logically be personal stuff. But if you want to specifically state, I want to spend X amount of time with my kid, you might want to put that in there too. Okay. Time goal, super important, makes a big difference. So it's all about the business facilitating your life, not the other way around. Super important to remember.
I like that. And I think for myself personally, I just restructured my day with a goal sheet. And it was very eye-opening because it was like, okay, if these are my goals, now I have a filter for when somebody brings something to me. If it doesn't align with my goals, I reject it. And I have a reason to reject it because I say this doesn't align with my goals.
Yeah.
And so it brings a lot of clarity when you actually break down the things that you definitely, your own personal KPIs, you know?
This is why, Chase, like I said at the beginning, auditing is so important. Like we have these like non-negotiables in our minds, a lot of people, but a lot of people are like me. And I think yes men, I'm just a yes man. Like I'm not going to like lie about it. It's who I am. Like I'm an emotional person. I say yes to a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have. And then in my mind though, in my conscience, I'm like, I have non-negotiables of spending time with my wife and with my kid and for myself. But constantly you're making concessions to those non-negotiables because you're not really auditing what you're doing with your time. You're just thinking about it overall. It's like the same idea, Chase. If I was to pay you $1 million to tell me exactly what you ate for lunch last Tuesday, you probably, unless you're someone who's detailed with it, forget those people, right? Most people would be like, crap, let me really think this through. And you don't know because you don't have an audit of what you're actually doing with your time. It's like you take all the time and you jumble it together. And that's why when you really clarify it, like Chase is talking about, both in setting it and auditing it, makes a really big difference long-term.
And it makes you less of an a-hole, right? Like I always felt bad saying like, no, I can't help you with that but now it's easy because it's like, I can't help you with that because I have to hit this goal by the end of the week. And yes. I just don't have time to help you. I would love to, but I got to hit this goal, you know?
It's just a reminder, the ever-present reminder that everyone has 24 hours everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what you've got, no matter how much money you make, no matter your celebrity status, no matter what, we all have 24 hours. It's the most valuable asset you have, especially, not to get too esoteric, but for people that don't know this, the guy that you're listening to right now had open heart surgery 14 weeks ago tomorrow. So it's pretty important, I would say. I'm only 29 years old and I lived through that. So it's pretty important, I would say, to understand how valuable your time is. Do not mistake it. It's super key. And it's why I do this SOP. It's so key. Next up is the customer retention goal. Like Chase was just talking about, he kind of buried the lead, as we call it in writing, buried the lead with his little promotion. But again, if you want to not have churn, use the SaaS product. But customer goal, retention goal. I say this all the time. Customer retention matters more than customer acquisition. Now, you can get into an argument with me about the chicken versus the egg, et cetera. Yes, obviously, you can't retain clients that you don't have. Why are we arguing about that? That's the stupidest thing ever. I'm talking about when you have clients. If you're filling a leaky bucket, meaning you're bringing on 5 clients and you're losing 3 of them per month, that's not a win. That's bad. That's not a good business model. It's stupid. You should be focusing on customer retention. It's more important than anything else. How many months commitment will your initial sales be? If you're in the agency space and you are offering anything that's month to month, you should slap yourself in the face right now, because it's insane, unreasonable, untenable, impossible to build a successful business on. Your minimum commitment should be 3 months. Probably should be 6 months, but I'm scared to say it. I'm owning up to it, but it should be at least 3 months. After the initial sales agreement, this is also a huge problem. Chase, I'm sure you see this. After the initial sales agreement, so you work with them for the 3 months, assuming they don't cancel within the agreement, how many months will you ask next? For some blockhead reason, you move to month. What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. How are you going to go from here's 3 months, now let's do month to month? Once you finish with them for 3 months, 6 or 12 months, period. This has been the single biggest lever for my business, both companies, Sky Social Media, my agency, and my coaching program, Prospecting on Demand, in the last year. At the event that HighLevel sponsored for us last year, we made a 12-month offer. First time we ever did that. Chase, 80% of the people that joined finished the 12-month this month. It was a year ago, 12 months ago. That's incredible. Like, that feeling is unbelievable, right? It's an amazing feeling for anyone that struggles with churn. It's an incredible thing to be able to do that. Make sure you have at least a 3-month commitment on the follow-up, but ideally 6 to 12 months. And then 3 biggest factors to increasing retention, right? What are the 3 biggest factors? One of them is probably operational efficiency using HighLevel. The other is getting excellent results, a specific KPI you want to clear up. And then you decide what that third one is. Maybe good communication, attribution reporting. These are all really valuable. Again, GHL does an incredible job with attribution reporting. We strongly recommend everyone I work with to utilize it so you can prove to your clients, this is the funnel. This is how much money you made. This is a no-brainer. It's valuable and it makes a big difference. It makes your life a lot easier. Use it. If you have any other goals, right? So again, we're still in the goal setting model. Any other goals, just use the 3 prompts below for that. Here's some example goals that you can consider. There's no exhaustive list here by any means. It's just a number of goals that you can consider. There's no right or wrongs. And then the prompts are, what is the goal? What do you believe are the 3 biggest factors to hitting it? And then why'd you choose that goal? That doesn't mean there can't be any other prompts. It's just the ones that you want to consider. So someone that really cares about podcast downloads, for example, might be, I have a goal of 10,000 podcast downloads this year. The 3 biggest factors are to doing a show every single week, marketing it appropriately, and running ads to it, which is the same thing as marketing it appropriately. My bad. Why did you choose this goal for the new year? Building this podcast to 10,000 subscribers will help me, get better impact, etc. Just an example. All right. So that is first the goal setting element. That's step 1 of the annual planning SOP. The next 3 steps or 4 steps are a lot shorter, but still really valuable. First is the client acquisition roadmap. We have a checklist here. The checklist is just basically like elements of client acquisition you need, like your offer, your sales deck, all those elements. Based on the goals that you have in steps 1 and 2 above, how many new clients per month do you need to hit this year to hit your revenue and profit goals? Doing an action plan. What's the actual roadmap to doing that, right? So if you want to get 52 grand and you have $1,000 clients, it's 52 clients, right? And then you break it down into 12 months and go from there. For the prospecting side, what are the most important SOPs that you need? Do you have a team manager? Do you have like a LinkedIn process? Do you have cold calling? Like, what are your elements for prospecting that you have to hit your goals? Same for sales. Do you have a sales deck? Do you have a notepad? Do you use the notepad on HighLevel? How do you have the sales pipeline on HighLevel? These are the elements that you want to consider. Very simple, easy to go through. Client acquisition roadmap and planning will make your process better to prioritize what you need to work on. Next up, business facilitation and personal goals. Very important, man. I cannot express this enough. Consider this step as if you had all the money that your heart desired. Brain dump your answers to every prompt. Brain dump them. Don't just write a couple. Really sit there, brain dump them. There's no right or wrong answers. Don't go with conventional wisdom. Don't say things because you think it sounds sexy. Imagine no one but you ever saw this SOP. Write the things that matter to you. You, not me, not Chase, not what Wizard Guy says online, no one else. Just you.
Wizard Guy.
Wizard
I love that guy.
Dude, he's a good dude. What do you want this business to help facilitate in your personal life this year? This is the most important thing. That's why you chose to be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, why are you going with the stress and strain of it? Go get a job instead. You'll get health insurance paid. You'll have someone to tell you what to do. You can clock out at the same time. You have paid time off. You're all good. But you chose for a reason to be your own boss, to facilitate the life you want to live, not the other way around. These are the three things that I care about specifically. What will make you happy? What will make you fulfilled? What will specifically make you dissatisfied? And then finally, in one sentence, what do you want your business to do for you this year? The sentences that I read here, first of all of them are run-on sentences, and you guys all have to go back to fifth grade spelling and English grammar, but that's totally okay. Besides the run-on sentences, some of the stuff I read here was so passionate and so beautiful and so valuable. And if you do this and then come back in May, right, 3, 4, 5 months later, and you look at it and you're like, damn, I'm really not doing the thing I said I want here, it will help realign you. Think of it as your North Star. I can't express enough how important this is to me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
A lot of people will say pretty standard, which is fine. It's okay. I want the business to allow me to have time and financial freedom. Make sure you define what that is, though. It's not good enough just to say that. What is time and financial freedom? How much time? How much money? What does it mean to you? Right? It's really key. Let's go into the fourth element, the team member review.
This one's hard.
What's up?
This one's hard.
Yeah, this is probably the most challenging element of it. So an organization chart, just for clarity, is just like the high-level overview of the C-level executives. I just want to talk about this for 1 second. Again, conventional wisdom doesn't mean jack here, right? Like if you read Traction by Gene Wickman, incredible book, by the way, strongly recommend it. He has a very conventional standard model of how you build out your COO, your CEO, your CMO, the customer success manager, the marketing manager, the project manager, every single element of the business broken down, right? But this is the old way, right? Meaning like this is if you were building an Apple, a Facebook, like a Uber, these large companies. Most of you probably are not trying to build that type of business. Nothing wrong with that at all. There's no problem with that. You're trying to build your business. You don't have to have a conventional model. Okay. You do not. I'll give you a good example. A lot of people that get on the phone call with me to talk about prospecting on demand would be like, Alex, why are you doing a sales call? Right? In other coaching programs, they have this person. It's like, I want to. It's a choice. Conventionally, if I hired a coach that was conventionally trying to teach me on how to build a business, they would force me out of that role, which makes sense because there's no scalability to me doing the calls. But it's what I want to do because it's my business. So I chose that. Just please don't forget that as you're going through this, because that's the key. So when you're reviewing your organization chart, it's yours. That's the key. Do you have the team necessary to facilitate your goals in steps 1 and steps 2? The answer to 99% of this is no. Now, if you answer yes, you probably should go back to step 1 and realize I'm probably not shooting high enough. Because if you have everything already to hit the goals, what are you doing, right? Are you just staying at the same level, which is fine? no worries, but are you pushing yourself? Are you content? Just consider that as you think about it. 99% of people that I reviewed this SOP said no, they were missing some element. Most of it, in my experience, Chase, was that they were missing a salesperson specifically, someone to actually do sales calls, which is kind of a really big step for a lot of agency owners. Outsourcing fulfillment, outsourcing prospecting seems to be really, really common. The sales aspect, closing the deal, is really not so common in this space. It's like a big, big step for a lot of people. So I saw most people saying, no, I need a sales team. Doesn't mean that's what you might say, listener, that I don't know who you are right now. Could be something else completely, but it's pretty common that you'll have a no here and write something similar to that. Is there a desperate need for a specific hire, and why or why not? Again, this is just another prompt to really get yourself to start thinking about what you should and why you should hire someone, or maybe not. This is key. Earlier, Chase was talking about churn. Churn for clients is one thing. Churn for team members is another entirely, and it sucks. I don't know how else to say it. It's so crappy. It's so crappy. Exciting for the person you care about, for someone to be like, hey, thanks for all the help and letting me work with you for X amount of time. I got this offer to do this thing I want, and I'm leaving. That's hard. Because that person knows your company's values, their culture, your modus operandi, the way your business works, the systems, the processes, the clients, everything. Now suddenly they're gone. Now, not only do you have to find the new talent, you have to onboard the new talent. You have to ensure the new talent is up to snuff. You have to test the new talent. You have to ensure they're actually executing the appropriate level. It's so challenging. In fact, it's probably been the hardest thing for me in my businesses to scale long-term. Finding the appropriate talent and keeping them satisfied. And I've invested a lot into mentorship on this and coaching and people that are really skilled in building amazing teams. And the biggest thing they constantly said is making sure you know their motivations and goals. And it seems so logical, and yet we throw that to the wayside because we're so focused on us, we're not focused on them. They're not just another spoke in the wheel. They're a human being who cares about what they're doing, that wants to ensure that they're achieving their similar goals. But if you don't know those goals, it will crush them and it will crush you in being able to keep them long-term. You can do this in a vision board style. You can do this in what I call the ERAM model. Normally I have better acronyms, by the way, Chase, but I just couldn't come up with a better one. And if I did REAM, then that's like a negative word. So I just went with ERAM. It's crap. But expectations, resources, ability, motivation. Expectations, resources, ability, motivation. And simply what that means is, what are their expectations for the role? Making sure you're on the same page. What are their ability, the resources that they have or need? Their abilities, are they utilizing their abilities best? Are there things that they're asking them to do that are not really efficient? And then their unique motivations, not why they're working with you, why they're working in general, what they want. This will help you build out a more efficient model. If you don't want to use ERAM simply for the fact that it's a terrible acronym, look, I'll only cry a little bit about it. Joking aside though, you really need to know. Just have a conversation with them and ask them, like, I want to make sure we're on the same side. Knights of the Round Table is the model. Like, your voice matters, your opinion matters. You don't have to step on eggshells with me. I want to know what you're trying to accomplish this year so I can help you.
I like ERAM. You know what I love about ERAM that most people don't talk about is the R. I guarantee you, if you ask most of your employees, hey, is there a tool that you've been looking at that you think would be really awesome to have, but you're afraid to ask me for it because it costs $40 a month or something like that? Like everybody is, like in a free trial of something that they're afraid to ask for that would help them do their job so much better. You know what I mean?
It's also just the idea of opening up conversations. Like, it's wild how many people speak in retrospect with their team. So like, you'll have a call with Michelle on your team, and Michelle's been withholding something for 6 weeks because she's afraid to say it. Then you bring it up and she's like, oh, I've been feeling that way for about a month and a half, blah, blah. It's like, why the hell didn't you say anything? What is going on? And it's you want to blame the team member. It's not the team member. It's on you for creating a culture and environment where she's either afraid to express herself, doesn't know that she can express herself, or doesn't feel comfortable in doing so, either out of fear of being fired or not being provided for or not being listened to. Again, that's why ERAM works really well, but setting up every person on your team, even if you've done it for a long time and worked with them for a long time, making sure you have clear motivations and goals works so that there's not second guessing each team member every month, which is deadly for any business that's growing, which is probably a lot of you watching this video. So really important. I think it's key. Next, is there anyone currently on the team that can be promoted into a leadership role to help the company scale? I don't think enough people really consider this, me included, how you can allow people on your team to scale up, to take more responsibility out of your hands and manage more. Because most people watching this want to become in the managerial side of the business. But if everyone under you is just workers and no one under you is managers, then you're going to be micromanaging every single person. You have to have managers. It's super important. It's a challenge. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I have all the answers for you right now in a 40-minute video that we do. That's not reasonable. That's not what we're here to do today anyways, but it is valuable to consider how to build this out. So team member review, like Chase said, probably the hardest element, but really valuable and really, really good to do. In the audit SOP, by the way, I just want to drop this for you guys. In the audit SOP, one of the things I considered was in the prior year or quarter, if you want to do it quarterly, who was the MVP on your team and why? And Chase, you'll laugh at this because I know you're a sports guy. A couple of clients asked me, what's MVP? And I was like, holy crap. Okay. I guess that is not, omnipresent terminology. I didn't realize MVP is most valuable player. It's like the most common award for every single, sports thing in the world. Some of them call it like a little bit something different, like whatever. You get the idea. MVP is just the person that was best on your team. So who is the MVP and why? If you do the and why, then you can go back to everyone else on your team and be like, these were the reasons why Connor was the MVP. These are the things we want you to implement too. Really, really valuable for team member auditing as well, instead of just planning, which really makes a difference. But yeah, I thought you would laugh at the MVP thing. I thought that was pretty funny. All right, so the ISA map, again, just one more time saying this, the ISA map is just a wireframe of all your SOPs for prospecting, offers, qualification, your sales process, again, like how it works, unqualified automation, et cetera, the actual onboarding, like how you onboard a client, and then the the retention model, referral model, upsell model. That's basically like the entire agency in one. I don't think I missed anything off of it, but that's a good example.
Really good point. I mean, it's so funny because it's chicken and the egg, right? It's always hard to find the time to build the SOPs, but once you build the SOPs, you get so much time back.
That's the key. I think also one of the things, Chase, is a lot of people don't realize this, and thank you for teaming me up on this. A lot of people will do this, Chase. They'll be like, I could do it faster right now. And they're thinking about today. They're thinking about January 18th, 2020 now. Except if you fast forward to May 20th, 2021, do you know what they say? I can just do it faster today. Mm-hmm. When you compile all of the days that you said that, which is probably like 100 times every year, if not more, you start to realize, holy crap, I spent, let's just estimate, 250 hours on this I could do it faster task instead of spending the extra 4 hours one time to save 150 hours. It's simple math. Stop playing just the 24-hour game. It's really hard because like there's competing thoughts that I have about this. The emotional esoteric side, like we only live for today. We only have today. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. Like all that stuff's great and it matters, but like you can't have that mindset every single day with the business. With your life, beautiful. Smell the roses. Be happy. Enjoy each moment. But like in your business, you're building a long-term business. It can't just be like, I'm playing the 24-hour game right now every day. It's hard to battle that a little bit, especially.
Well, I think a way to help is to go back up in your document here, and when you're breaking out your day, a chunk of that should be creating SOPs.
100%.
Because, I mean, I don't know if I can speak for you on saying this, but I don't think I've ever built one where I didn't look back and be like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. Like,
oh, no, it's always good. It's always a valuable.
Or I can't believe how well that little machine that I set up is working. Like, I really didn't think that would work, or I really didn't think I could pass that on to somebody. And then you do, and you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they believe like no matter what, that they're the only person that can do it. And I think like, you don't have to think that highly of yourself. Like just being real. It's like similar. I use the personal trainer metaphor. It's like no one is going to a personal trainer because they have some secret diet or anything. It's not like you can't find anything that anyone you ever paid would offer you online. You know why they're buying it? To have someone be on your ass to tell you, do this every day, now, today. Did you do it? That's why people are buying it, right? It's the same idea. You probably don't have secret sauce, okay? You just probably don't. You probably don't. I'm sorry to say, me included, this guy included, who's like big on the secret sauce stuff. there's everything online. Diluting the information is good. Pieing value is good. All that's fine. But like at the end of the day, the real value is building it into a process and handing it off and letting someone iterate on it and do it better. That's the truth.
You just gave me a great idea for a soundbite. At the end of the day, secret sauce is really just ketchup and mayo mixed together, right?
It's just packaged that way. It's so true. So true. Everyone's Burger 21 sauce is just like, we put mayo and ketchup together and then we called it this thing and now you want to buy it. That's what they do. Exactly. Or they're like white labeled Cholula. It's like, this is our hot sauce. It's like, exactly. Dude, that's Cholula. What are you talking about?
But there's a little mayo in there.
Yeah, exactly. Gotcha. So reviewing the map, the company's like high-level SOP process, do you have the SOPs and processes necessary to facilitate the goals that you had in steps 1 and 2? What are the 3 biggest gaps you have in your map currently? Again, just like all the elements of your business, what do you think are the biggest ones? Probably the ones that I think most people are really not considering, if I could just throw this out there for you. Probably the biggest one is the retention SOP itself. Like onboarding is like a specific element of retention, but how do you do ongoing retention? How do you communicate with them consistently? How do you report appropriately? How do you showcase attribution? Again, use HighLevel for this. It's so easy to show them, here's how many appointments we set. Here's the amount of value that was lifetime value for you. I use this with every client that we work with, and it makes a massive, massive difference long-term. And I also put it in my sales deck, Chase. In the sales deck, I have like a sample pipeline, and I'll show them like, look at, this is how many leads and the pipeline value if you closed all of them. And that's so valuable to like show that itself using HighLevel. So I would say probably that's like the #1 gap that I see most people have, but like the standard 2 gaps for 99% of the people watching this video are probably going to be prospecting and then sales itself. Like those are probably the 2 biggest ones. What are the 3 strongest elements of the ISA map? A lot of people would probably write like, my offer is really good, my team is pretty good, and I'm really good. That's what they put in there. And then how will those 3 elements specifically help you facilitate your goals laid out in steps 1 and 2? This is the annual planning SOP. Again, you can literally change, I don't know, 1 word on this document, which would be annual to quarterly, and then bang, now you have a quarterly SOP too. I'll make sure that Chase has the link here for you guys so you can review it, and I'll happily talk about anything with anyone. And that was it.
Yeah. All right. I got a couple of minutes for my next call, but an interesting point here. You're number 5. I almost feel like if you're a young agency entrepreneur, right, you're just transitioning into this, I would spend as much time, it's like a chicken and the egg, building SOPs before you get your client. Because once you start getting clients, it's really hard to find the time to build SOPs. But how could you build SOPs for things you haven't done before? Well, that's where I really encourage reaching out to people who've been there before who can help you. So find somebody in the community. Our Facebook community is incredible.
Amazing.
Tons of coaches, tons of people like Alex who have done this 100 times before so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because I'm telling you, if you started a business with proven SOPs, it will run 100 times smoother than you trying to build them on the fly as you learn.
So before we go, I'll drop 2 really good nuggets for you guys on how to build SOPs. There's 2 main ways. I'm not saying that there's not more than this, but there's 2 main ways.
First of all, going back to what is MVP, what is SOP?
Yeah, good thing. Standard operating procedure, right? So like this is your standard operating procedure, the thing that you do every time. It's like when you go to a car repair shop and they hire Billy to do oil changes. That car repair shop probably, guaranteed, has an SOP of how they do an oil change, which is the first thing you do is you open up the gas. I'm not going to even try to pretend that I know.
A map, a checklist, a guide. Yeah.
If I start talking about cars, my ignorance will show very quickly. Not a car. But you get the idea, right? You just have to have a specific thing. It's the recipe, same idea of how the special homemade sauce is made, even though we probably just shat on them for a second a minute ago. But like how they make their pizza, like it's a special, unique way that they do it. That's an SOP. So there's 2 ways to do it that I recommend. The brain dump method or the record and transcribe method. It just really depends what type of person you are. So I'll explain both really quick. The easier one is the record and transcribe method. You literally go on Zoom. If you have the pro account, Zoom auto transcribes. If not, then just do any recording like Loom or something. Go on there and do the task and say something along these lines like, hey, right now I'm going to do LinkedIn prospecting so that I can build our LinkedIn prospecting SOP. I'm going to go through each step that I do, and I'm going to say out loud what I'm doing. So step 1 is I'm going to compile my list. Here's how I do it. I go here, and I do this, and you're just literally recording it and speaking it out as you're doing it. and then it's going to be messy. It's going to look like crap. It's going to be terrible. You go to rev.com or temi.com, you get a transcription by a human, not a robot, to clean it up. Then you have your VA go in there and clean it up further, so that what it is it breaks down into steps as an overview, which is a QA checklist. I did all these steps. And then each step has sub-steps with a simple video guide, which is a clip of the recorded video. It's pretty easy to do. It takes probably 2 or 3 versions to get the ideal SOP. That's the record, transcribe method. For me, there's too much stress involved in that because I'm like very perfectionist when I do videos. And if I make one mistake, I'm going to restart the video 6 times. And that's just not a healthy way to do it. If you're not like that, which is plenty of people, it's a great method. The brain dump method is, in my opinion, much, much better, much more valuable to implement for building an SOP. You just brain dump what you do. Literally sit there and think about every single thing that you do task-wise. Then you look at it as a recipe and you do the work, only following the checklist. If in the middle of steps, just for example, 2 and 3, you realize, I forgot this thing. You go to your edit, make sure it's not on a paper, has to be on a document on Google, and you go and add now between 2 and 3, which will now become obviously 3, and you add that step. Once you do this 3 or 4 times, you'll actually have every single step exactly laid out the way you do it. Then you hand it off to the client or the team member, and it's really easy. I much prefer the brain dump method. It just takes longer, but I think it's a little more meticulous and a better model for long-term building SOPs.
Yeah, great tips. Alex, if I'm new to this and I'm watching this and I'm like, sounds like that guy could help me get there faster, where do they find you?
Yeah, prospectingondemand.com is probably the easiest way to find me. Or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Schlinsky, SCHLINSKY. Or you can find me in the HighLevel group because I'm posting in there all the fucking time. Pretty simple. But yeah, that's my models. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this. I'm super passionate about this stuff. And I think it's really valuable. Just before we go, last thing on this, just remember, like, the purpose of doing this, building the business that facilitates your life, not the other way around. Like, you don't have to build yourself a job. I think too many people end up building themselves a job and then get really upset about it. Don't be that person. Don't be that person.
Good point. It's a very good point.
It's easier said than done. And I had to learn that the hard way, like if you don't get the opportunity to learn it the hard way, then listen to what I have to say on it. It really makes a big difference, I promise. Thanks for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. We always appreciate it. We'll make sure that we link this doc in the below the video so that you guys can grab it and run with it. And thanks again to everybody watching. We'll see you in the next episode.